Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine, Skeeter Bass Boats, Hurricane Deck Boats, Pontoon Boats by Suncatcher and Godfrey Aqua Patio, John Boats by G3. I could go on forever. No boat dealer in East Tennessee, heck, from Georgia to Middle Tennessee, carries more lines of boats at better prices than Madisonville Marine. That's why I always say there's no better place to buy a boat. Well, it's true. Highway 411 North in Madisonville. Get down to see Joe Special and the crew at Madisonville Marine this week. All right, here's one more member of our crew that you can see seated right there, Chuck Cavaleras. Chuck, thanks for joining us
Great
today.
to be here, John.
All right, back with Ryan and Jimmy. And I want to apologize to our guys in the booth. We tell everybody where we're going to sit, and the guys in the booth are prepared for that. And today we've kind of shuffled it all up, so my apologies to the guys in the booth. You can figure out where we are. A couple of interesting comments this week from national media members I wanted to bring up here. Play-by-play man Tim Brando, Fox Sports, said last week, quote, "I'll tell you right now, I think Kentucky finishes second to Georgia in the SEC East. And why not Tennessee? Well, here's what he said. Here's where he continued. Tennessee, in my opinion, is going to be really challenged by the likes of Kentucky, by South Carolina, by teams in the East that are really good. I think Kentucky, they are still a factor. A lot of people want to throw dirt on that team because they lack imagination. Last year, if their offensive line had been a little bit better, I think they would have won 10 games with Will Levis. But Will Levis was running around for his life a little bit back there. All right, Chuck.
Yes.
Your reaction. Is he completely off base that Tennessee could be challenged by Kentucky and South Carolina and Missouri?
Well, I'd almost forgotten about Tim Brando. I'm kind of glad he came back into being relevant a little bit. But the Vegas odds makers certainly disagree, don't they?
Can you tell Superfan over here didn't like the comment?
Well, I mean,
So let's come out and just take shots at Tim Brando.
well, I liked the fact that he did say he thinks Kentucky will jump Tennessee and finish second. Yeah. If you think Tim Brando is right, go bet some money on Kentucky over under for wins because it's 6.5. Tennessee's 9.5 on over and under for wins. Yeah. So Tim Brando's kind of climbed out on a limb by himself, in my opinion.
I'll say what Kentucky does have, transfer quarterback that I think could give you better results than Will Levis. I think that was a good pickup.
Your previous OC has come back.
Yeah. The previous OC has come back,
Right.
so the offense should be a little more imaginative to his point. And they've still got some real talent at wide receivers. So if their passing game can be good, I could see it. The problem is I don't think the rest of the team is quite as good as they were the last couple of years. So I think talent-wise, they've taken maybe a step back, and that's why I think to his point you see the over under at 6.5.
I also think Mark Stoops is a guy who's just like Jeremy Pruitt, like so many of those defense-first guys. I don't care who his quarterback is. I don't care who the OC is. They're not going to let their guy throw more than 20, 25 times a game.
Yeah.
It's ground game and win with defense, and I don't know that you can do that anymore. Jimmy, your thoughts on the comments?
Well, I don't think Kentucky's going to be better than Tennessee. Could they challenge them? They could, because I think Stoops is a good coach. And he had a stretch where 2 years out of 4 he won 10 games. That's pretty good at Kentucky. Yeah. He's also got a 1,000-yard rusher that transferred in from Vanderbilt. So that's a good player. Defensively, I don't think they're as good as they have been. And so I don't think they will beat out Tennessee. I think Tennessee will end up winning that. But I do think, you mentioned the offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen. Will Levis's best year with Kentucky was with him. So I think their offense will be a lot better. I think their defense will be average.
But one thing, for that offense to be a lot better, guys, that offensive line, it was so injury plagued, that's going to have to make the big leap forward.
Yep. The interesting thing, I don't think Kentucky's going to finish ahead of Tennessee in the standings. At the same time, most people around here are like, Kentucky, South Carolina, Missouri. I watched South Carolina kick your butt last year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who forget that in this league, when you look at your schedule, you're just saying, well, the only ones that can beat us are Alabama and Georgia. No, anyone can beat you. Anyone not named Vanderbilt can beat you. So I think Tennessee fans need to remember that because everybody in this league usually has a stunner or two. Georgia almost got stunned by Missouri last year, who we all laugh at and don't take seriously. Brando, I think, is on a limb in saying they'll finish second. I don't think he's on a limb in saying that Tennessee's going to get challenged. I don't think that at all. But all right, ESPN's Bill Connelly did a piece on what it would take for several teams to compete for a national title, and he said there were 3 ifs. If they broke the right way, Tennessee could compete for a national title. Here are his ifs. Number 1, if Joe Milton is ready. Number 2, if there's a number 2 cornerback. And his rationale was to go with Kamal Haddon. Okay. And number 3, if the pass rush steps up. Chuck, I'll go start with you again. because you always go in a so far direction that we can have fun with it. So, your thoughts on these ifs? How do you feel about them actually making good on these 3 ifs?
Well, I think, you can see where he's coming from on that. My bigger if is the pass defense better than 127th in the country? It's not just at cornerback. I can see where you're saying if the pass rush steps up, but there are several things that have to fall into place, but I think it's more than just that. I think Tennessee has been extremely effective in turnover ratio, and it's something we may not talk a lot, especially interceptions. Joe Milton's like 10-0 with touchdowns to interception. Looks at how good Hendon Hooker was. I think that's one thing you got to look at too. Does Tennessee continue to do a good job taking care of the football?
So do you disagree with his list?
I disagree with his list.
Okay. Ryan, his list?
I think the list is close. I wouldn't have number 2 corner necessarily to his point.
Yeah,
I think
just
it'd be
pass rush in
overall
general.
pass defense, but I think
pass defense.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the pass rush is a big one. I'd maybe have pass rush at number 1 or 2. To me, that's a big one for this team. They've got to get after the quarterback. If they're just okay there, they're going to be sitting back and getting picked apart by a lot of teams.
Yeah, to me, it's just pass defense, which includes pass rush as much as secondary. Yeah. Jimmy.
Yeah, I agree with it, except for the one point that Ryan pointed out about its pass defense. It's not just another cornerback. They need a lot of cornerbacks to come through. They need safeties to come through. They need to be better overall back there. They need to not have the bust that they had. They need to not get beat by one-on-one coverage a lot, which they did. So, but those 3 elements, I think that's pretty good. I wouldn't have any argument with that. And when you say, is Joe Milton ready? Part of that would be consistent. Is he consistently as good as Hooker was? Can he play every game close to like he did against Clemson, where he had, 251 yards, 3 touchdowns? If he can play at a consistently high level, then you got a shot.
And I need to go back and watch that game because everybody talks about what a spectacular game he has. And I remember sitting there at halftime thinking, Tennessee's going to struggle next year.
Yeah.
I thought he looked so much better in the second half than he did the first half that I even looked at his best game, and I'm not knocking him. He was MVP for a reason. That was great. He didn't do anything to get you beat in the first half. So, again, no interceptions, that kind of thing. But even in that game, I'm sitting there thinking, first half, he was just kind of so-so. Second half, all right, now you can win some games with this. But I did not see consistency even in one game from start to
Well,
finish.
to that point, I think I'm right about this. I think Tennessee had 4 3-and-outs in the first half.
Yeah, and it was when the run game got going in the second half that he got better, which is that was true of Hendon Hooker so many times too. It's the run game that drives this bus.
If there was another thing that could make that list instead of maybe the corners or something like that, offensive line to me is right up there just about with those. You've got to make sure you replace Jerome Carvin and Darnell Wright and have an effective group up front. If Joe Milton gets pressured a lot, he's not as able to wiggle out of trouble as Hendon Hooker was.
He looks flustered
Yeah.
in the pocket, which for a guy that big, it's surprising. He does look flustered in the pocket when you get pressure on him. The other thing is, we just said it, you need that run game going. So you're replacing 2 guys on your offensive line. You may be shuffling guys as well. Are you going to be able to have the run game you had last year? Your back should be just as deep or better. You got more guys. But that offensive line is a huge knock as well, or a huge question as well.
The run game also was aided by Hendon Hooker, who ran for almost 500 yards. Yeah. You won't get that out of Joe Milton.
No, but what will he get? Will we see him run more than we've seen him run so far? That'll be he's dropped some weight. Will they be calling more runs for him and getting him into that mindset early in the game? Some of those guys need that. But yeah, that's how far are you off? Are you lose 400 yards in rushing to from him going?
Right.
Is it 300? Does he get 200 and you lose? The more he makes up, the better.
I have a feeling he's going to be more of a mobile quarterback than a running quarterback, if that makes sense. I really do.
I just worry about his escapability.
Yeah.
He just seems to get kind of antsy when the pressure comes. So, all right. When we come back, conference realignment is simply out of control. We'll catch you up on what happened this week and look at how this stuff someday can impact the SEC and Tennessee. Is the SEC in the best shape of any conference at this point? Come on back, we'll discuss.